Hi. Okay, welcome back to my little part of the corner of the internet here. So, I do watch the occasional anti Mormon, and I do watch Mormon Stories podcast. And I love the Sick of Joseph, great podcast. And when I saw that John Dehlin had the Stick of Joseph on, I wanted to watch it. They did a very good job. Both ends, both John and Jackson and Hayden. All three did a very good job sitting down, discussing things. Proud of you guys. Good job, guys. But a question came up during the podcast. And I have been reading a lot of books, so this took me a while. I've been trying to find the actual text that I read. I'm going to read you a text, not the one that I read, because I can't remember, because I picked up this book at DI because at the beginning of the year, before we started Come Follow Me, I didn't know Come Follow Me was going to go into the restoration. I didn't even know what Come Follow Me was at the end of last year, around New Year's. And around New Year's, I had gotten this prompting to relook at Emma Smith because I had judged her heavily. And so I picked up this book at DI for a couple bucks. It's written by Emma Smith, Emma Joseph's great granddaughter. Anyways, point being, I don't know if it's that book. I've been searching that book over and over again. I've been searching Saints. I've been searching uh, the teachings of Joseph Smith. I've been searching everywhere I've been reading lately, trying to find this passage for you so I can answer this question for you, because I feel, as a fellow streamer and somebody who puts themselves out there in the public eye doing Mormon stuff, if I have an answer, I have an obligation to state that answer. Now, I may be right, I may be wrong, I don't know, but I do have an answer for you. And I feel like, because my husband's like, why do you want to go? And I said, I want to go answer them because I feel like, because God answers our questions in multiple ways. And me, sometimes you just choose to have faith and you hang in there. And I did. And because I had saw people talking about what John asked, and I'm gonna state in a minute what John asked, and then we'll go into the answer. And so when I found the answer, and I started telling my friend and my close friend and everything, the answer and everything, and talking to her about it, and then I watched the podcast yesterday, and John said, "Please give me an answer." And anybody who cries for a true answer with true intent and a true heart, you deserve an answer. And so here is my answer. However, you take it, John, I'm just here to give you what I found, and you can take it as you need to. I have faith that you do know how to receive answers. And so, Joseph Smith, the very first marriage he performed in Kirkland I think it was at the temple, was Newell Knight and Lydia Goldwaite. The backstory is Lydia Goldwaite had two children. They both passed away, and then her husband abandoned her. Newell, the previous year, his wife and child had passed away. She passed away after giving birth to the child, and the child passed away too. Or it might have. Anyways, somebody went up to Newell and said, hey, Newell, you've had a really hard life and you've lost your wife and children. Well, so has Lydia. And they said, why don't you go talk to Lydia? And Lydia and Newell have noticed each other, but they've been a little shy about approaching each other. And so Newell gets up the courage to go approach. Oh, yeah. And John's question is about the temple endowments. He wants to know why there would be a policy change. Why, why, why? Why would there be a policy change? Because it used to be that the men would have to say, I would rather cut and, and then give the secrets of the ceremony. Well, here's your answer. So Newell approaches. Now, this is where okay, I found this. Somebody wrote a book about Lydia. And this is coming from the book of Lydia. Now, when I read it, whatever book it's in, I'll see if I can find it again. And if you want me to, I can shoot you when I find it, I can shoot you my copy that has the wording that I remember. But Newell approaches Lydia and says, and I love this, he says, my child, you seem very lonely as well as myself. Why can we not comfort each other? Quite the pickup line, right? Be like, you're lonely, I'm lonely, hey baby. Because nowadays that's how we'd say it, right? I'm lonely, you're lonely. Why don't we mix together or something like that? But remember, realize what I'm saying, because back then he said, my child, you seem very lonely, as well as myself. Why can we not comfort each other? So we were talking about this on X the other day, how people talk differently in this time. And Lydia's reply, I'll give you two of her replies. First of all, she says, sir, I know my condition is lonely and not desirable one, but I do not wish you to insult me. I have not the slightest knowledge where my husband is, or whether he is alive or dead. But I do not wish to take any step to make my condition worse, or bring shame upon my family, and deprive me of my salvation I am seeking to obtain. Now, in the copy I read, she ended with, I would rather die than sin. Now, back in this day and time, why is that important? Why did that stick in my mind? Because this is the way they talked back then. Back then, the saints were fine with saying, I would rather die than give away a secret. Nowadays, if you don't like the Mormon church, you go tell it on your podcast. Not only give away the secret, not only tell the secret, record it. Wear the garments, wear the temple clothing, reenact it. But 200 years ago, the saints pledged that they would rather die. Now, nowadays, I don't know if when you went through the temple and that resonated with you, John, and you said, I would rather die than give away these secrets, and you understood that, or a lot of men nowadays did not, and it sat uncomfortable with them. They're like, I don't, because I've heard a lot of men and women on both sides complain, why am I pledging to die for this church? And they're sitting here going, I don't want to pledge that. And a lot of the Exmos, like Life Take Two is like, I'm not going to die for this religion. That bothered me. She's like, that bothered me. I didn't want to say I wanted to die for this. So, but the early saints, they did. And they would have. And Joseph did. He sealed his testimony in his blood. So, yes, they would. They would. We wouldn't. And maybe that's the question you should be asking. Why would we not die to keep these secrets? Why is the rest of the world deserving to know these just because they look it up on the internet? And they don't have to pay tithing or live the law of consecration or anything else that the rest of us do. They just get them. They just get them. And so we should be more like the saints. So let me know what you think. For my TikTok is about to end because it's 10 minutes. Bye, guys, on TikTok. I'll see you later. But technically, I'm still here on YouTube. um, like I said, why are I I am so glad I was prompted to look into Emma Smith at the beginning of this year, because that so I'm going to go further into a little bit of explanation if you want to stay. I hope you've watched this far, John, but if you want to stay and hear me explain a little bit more, you can. If not, well, thank you for even watching this far. And bless may God bless you in whatever endeavors you decide to do. Me and my husband are definitely thinking of you and rooting for you. And so, um, I got prompted to look into Emma Smith, which launched my own personal investigation into the restoration. Now, I I have a very complicated story, a very very complicated story. I'm like, you spent 6 hours with the stick of Joseph, because their story was easy. You guys got to get straight into that. No, I'm just kidding. My story is very complicated at where I lie. Um, I have had quite. I technically got baptized on time at 8, and I was the third of 5 children, and my father was the first one. I was the first one my father got to baptize. My brothers were baptized by missionaries. My mom's a convert. That's the short, sweet version for you right there. Um, I have never knew what it meant. Nobody showed my parents what it was meant to be a Mormon. Nobody showed me. Luckily, my second, I'm on my second marriage. My second marriage, my first one wasn't LDS. My second one is. My choice to marry the second go around, I married someone who had an inkling, because he was raised very Utah Mormon. And so as our marriage and life progressed, and we weren't very good Mormons up until a little over a year ago. Um, through my husband, I found out what it's like to actually be Mormon. I knew there was deep doctrine, and in the past, I've been yelled at by my husband's friends and stuff for mentioning deep doctrine. And so I was told that deep doctrine was taboo. I was told that listening to Eskimos was taboo. I was told that just go to church. And now I find out that all of that is very wrong. That deep doctrine is should be talked about. Um, but we can't get into deep doctrine in the church because not two Mormons believe alike. It's very rare to find another fellow Mormon you can just sit down with and say, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And you get along and talk and not be called crazy or insane, which I did get called last Christmas at a award Christmas party for talking to somebody about the second coming. And so, um, There we go. I tagged you on. I'm sorry, but anyways, I that's what kicked me off onto when I was streaming. I was gaming last year and stuff, and I was catering to a lot of the world, and I stopped because, and I was avoiding religion and political talk. But now I have gone a whole 180, and that's what my podcasts are now. I That's what led me into changing my name on first X, and then eventually the rest of my Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, everything to Wife Like Emma Smith, because I got inspired by a couple people on X on how to change my name and what I wanted my name to represent and mean. And now that I found a new understanding and love for Emma Smith, that's what led to my name being Wife Like Emma Smith. And so I just sit here, and I'm not perfect in the faith, and I'm not perfect. But like my friend said on Sunday, I skipped Relief Society and talked to my friend because I was angry at the Relief Society president on Sunday, the state president. And so I skipped Relief Society. And I talked to my friend who came to go to her teaching class but ended up talking to me. And we ended up talking about this situation and everything, and how things were different back in the days, and how the saints really had a lot of the answers to the questions and everything. And if you just look back in time and realize that 200 years ago is not today, we don't talk the same, we don't act the same. What I did is kind of funny. I put this on X yesterday as I was trying to look for that passage. I found another passage that was funny because it's like, oh, so we talked differently back then. Well, how so? So when you go over to your friend's house, you'd be like, I'm coming over here. I'm going to unload on you because, I'm glad I can come over to my friend's house and I can just unload all my feelings on you. That's how we would say it nowadays, basically. Like, I come from the 80s and 90s, so that's kind of how we would say it back in our time. It's like, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to unload on you, okay? It's like, can I dump all my emotional garbage on you? Can I, nowadays they would say trauma dump or whatever, but we're not talking about trauma though. We're also talking about like preach. It's like, preach to me. Be like, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to just preach it to you because I'm so full of the Spirit. I'm going to preach to you. That's what we'd probably say. I'm so full of the Spirit. I want to preach to you. But in Joseph Smith's time, this is what Joseph Smith said. Or, yeah. This was recorded by Wilford Woodruff. That night we had a most enjoyable and profitable time in his home. Okay, so since when do we also speak like that? We had a most enjoyable and profitable time. That means, let me translate that into 2025 language. Time wasn't wasted. We enjoyed it and we didn't waste time. Everything we talked about was worthwhile. So basically, that's the 2025 translation. In a conversation, he smote his hand upon his breast. So he smote, placed, he pounded, he fixed, I don't know, he placed. More likely, I'd probably say, I placed my hand on my chest. I would say placed, but he's like, and he smote his hand upon his breast. I would say chest, not breast. Because, breast is reserved for, that word is reserved more privately now. And he said, I would to God I could unbosom my feelings in the house of my friends. Basically, 2025 speak, he's saying, if God be willing, I would preach to you guys here in I'm here at my friend's house and I want to preach to you guys. I want to unload this warm feeling from my chest to yours. God be willing. But no, they say, I would to God I could unbosom my feelings in the house of my friends. And that is how we spoke. And we were talking about it on Next the other day, how this is a mighty talent. Bring it back. Bring back this mighty talent, guys. Because this was a remarkable talent that people had to speak this way. And so when somebody says, so also take this story into account too. So hopefully you're still here, John, because I want to tell you this story too. Everybody knows the story of the night that Joseph and a few people got arrested. And people were wondering what kind of man Joseph was and if he was truly a prophet of God. And the Mormons were pretty new. And Joseph and everybody was sitting on the floor, and all the guards were at tables. They were laughing, they were talking, they were sitting there saying, oh, we're going to do this to the Mormon women, and we're going to unalive this person, and we're going to go do this, and we're going to go do that. And through the night, they were saying horrible stuff that all the saints were like, I can't listen to this anymore. I can't listen to this anymore. So Joseph, this amazed everybody. Joseph got up and he faced them through the bars. And he said that this talk will stop. That either them or he shall die. Or something. How does he say that? I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about. But he gets up and he states it's something about like I die this night. Let me look up the exact saying. Some Bible. Why is it talking about Joseph? Oh, that not. Oh, Joseph Smith. There's not Joseph the coat of many colors. I wanted to get the wording really right though, because it's an important distinction though. But once again, Joseph gets so dramatic. He says, either you or I die this night. Is he? Okay, there we go. Joseph rebukes vile guards. Maybe this is the story I'm looking for. Joseph rebukes vile guards in Richmond jail. I listen till I become so disgusted, shocked, horrified, and so filled with the spirit of indignant justice that I could scarcely refrain from rising upon my feet and rebuking the guards, but had said nothing to Joseph or anyone else, although I lay next to him and knew he was awake. On a sudden, he arose to his feet and spoke in a voice of thunder, or as the roaring lion, uttering as near as I can recollect the following words: Silence, ye fiends of the infernal pit. In the name of Jesus Christ, I rebuke you and command you to be still. I will not live another minute and hear such language, see such talk, or you or I die this instant. Like you're sitting there going, whoa, that's dramatic, Joseph. Because he's saying, cease this talk. So much so that either you or I die this instant, but this talk will die. Because I can't hear another minute of it, and I don't want you to speak another minute of it. And so, since when did we talk about this? Ye fiends of infernal. And let me refer you back to Amulek and Zeezrom. When Zeezrom tempted Amulek, and Amulek said, O ye child of hell, why ye tempt me? I wish we spoke that way. But here you have Joseph sitting here saying, I died this instant. Did he? No. Was it a phrasing? Yes. It showed how serious Joseph was. He was, as we would say nowadays, he was serious as a heart attack. I mean, this is probably Joseph's way of saying, I am so serious, like a heart attack. You or I are going to die this instant. Because a heart attack, we know a fatal heart attack kills like that in an instant. And so you have Joseph saying, cease such talk, or you or I die this minute. So is it really that far fetched that we nowadays would be uncomfortable speaking this way and saying stuff like, I would rather die than give these secrets away? We don't hold very good secrets as a society nowadays. We don't respect each other as a society nowadays. And so I just wanted to give my 2 cents, and I felt like I needed to share this info for anyone who cries out for an answer they shall receive in one way or another. And so I give you something to ponder. And I will watch you guys later and check on you often. Like I said, we're rooting for you. I hope this gives you peace. I'm like, now I'll end. Okay. Bye. Stay warm, stay safe, stay loved, stay happy, guys, and stay spiritual.